like a screen share. All right, hello developers. So today we are going to do some data access, meaning that we have a page and but we want to wire it up so that it actually works, and we're just going to walk through that. So over here we have Rahisi, the project that we're working on, our pages, and we just created a new one called help. And let's see, where did you put the help file? Oh, yeah. Sorry. So, but I did already get latest, calculate items to download. All right. So, here, search for it. Okay. Oh, we put it under legal. All right, good. So we have this page here, and okay, we have everything you need to know about the subscription model on Preply, right? And then articles, help for students, two articles. All right, so what we want to do now is we want to first, we're going to go take a look at the one that we're using as a model. Let's see, we got all right, well actually let's just first run it here. All right, and then we come down here to help, right? Preply subscription. So we're going to hook up this Preply subscription to as a link to go to another page, and that page is going to be called article. All right, so we come down here, we see Preply this, so let's turn this into a link here, or it actually already is, and this is the href. So we're going to call it article, and we're going to pass it an ID of 1. Actually, it's called a route parameter. All right, so now we'll stop this, and we're going to come over here. Going to clear this, and let's actually do a new folder here. Add a new folder. We'll call it help. And we can move this from here. Well, actually, let's check it in. Don't lose any changes. Check in. Yes. Okay, and now we can move this over to help. Good, and again, we'll check it in. Save. I like doing a lot of check-ins after moving things around in a folder because TFS can get confused if you do, moving things around, renaming, adding. You do that all at once, and it says, "Oh, I can't handle that." So, any project changes, it's good to just check them in right away. All right, so now we want to add a regular component, and we're going to call this an article. All right, and page article. All right, and then let's now see if this works. Put it to help, and then the Preply subscription, and then it went to article, but it went to article 1, right? And that's when it said, like, if you just went to article, it found it. So we need to add that route parameter. All right, so let's go take a look at a page that uses a route parameter and see how we did it there. So if we come over here to Knowledge Builder and say add chapter, and then we go to the code behind, add chapter, inject. No, that doesn't pass. How about over here on drill, actually, on this page, it says, okay, let's go to here. Okay, so in this one, we're instead of using a route parameter, we're using a query string, because there could be a group or it can be a book, right? So let me think of another one where it uses add language, flashcard. All right, so we're just gonna go look up route parameter, Blazor, and we're gonna get a sample of a route parameter. Route parameter. Here we go. So we come back here to our help, and we can stop this. And no, that's not what we want. We want the article. All right, and so this is an example of a route parameter. So as you can see, that's right there. And then it's quite simple. It's just like this, ID. Right, and so we take this out. And then we need to pass that data, or that parameter, to our code. So we make a property down here, and instead of it being a string, we want it to be an int, and we're going to call it ID. And then just to see, I'm going to say, okay, ID is ID. All right, and let's run that. All right, so now try it again. Help. All right, our Preply subscription. Oh, didn't like that. Let's see what it didn't like. Says unable to properly set property ID. So it comes in as an object. So why it's coming in as a object, and here we have it as an integer. And so we're going to give it this to say we want it to be an integer. All right, so now if our hot reload is working, we'll see a little checkbox up here, but I don't think it is. So let's just refresh here. Okay, unable to cast system.string, so it's coming in as a string. So let's see. Why would it not be int ID int? So let's just check ID. Okay, but for one thing, in their example, they used exactly the same casing, ID. All right, so let's try that again. And again, we're hoping our hot update is updating. Let's go back here, refresh. Replace subscription. System.string to an int. But let's restart it here. Because this should tell it that we want it to be an int, and alright, help. Alright, Preply subscription, and there it goes. So as we can see, yeah, we got our parameter wrapped up. So all we had to do was to define that type right there. To say, okay, this is int, and also the casing has to match exactly. Now, I believe if you don't like the casing, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But you can put name, I think, name of, no, we won't worry about it. Okay, good. So now that we have our parameter value, so now we're going to load the article, right? So we're going to say override on initialized async. All right, now of course it's not async, so we have to say override async, and then no need for this return, and but we can say await. All right, and then we can say await this dot get article. All right, and then we define, let's stop this here. We can now say public async task get article int ID. All right. Oh, but we don't actually need to pass that in because it's just a property, and so we'll know what that is. So now here we will get data. All right. So now we need to get a little fancier in that we need a data store. So over here we're going to use this little code snippet, public article. And we're going to inject, well, actually, because I'm in a Razor page, I can just use the inject. And we're going to say public data store. And that's just what I call my data access layer. I just put it all in one layer just to keep them simple because it isn't too complex of a application. All right, and so now that's going to get injected into our page when it runs. So now we can use it. So now we can say var article equals this dot data store dot get article and this dot ID. All right, so then we can go to our data store. When this is working correctly, it'll give me a prompt to say, oh, do you want to create this method? But right now it's not doing that, so we're just going to go straight over here to our data store, and add this public async article. Get article. All right, but it says, oh, but there's no such thing as an article, right? So, well, actually, it's saying that there is, but what we want over here in our app is a data type called an article. So we're going to add a class, and so now we're getting into the like the data side of it. Article, is a entity that's going to live in the database. Article, all right, so it's going to be pretty straightforward. Public int ID is good. Public string title, that's pretty good. Description, sure, why not? Author, see, Copilot giving me some great suggestions, but we don't need that author. But what we do need is public string text. Set, all right, and we need a, so let's think about this. So this is going to be our article ID. We have a title, a description, text, and how about a date? Public date, time, offset, inserted date. Get set. All right, good. So now we make the jump between, well, actually, let's clear up these little green squigglies. This isn't critical, but still, we're just going to put some default values for those, just so they can be not nullable. All right, so that's good. And now we're going to make the jump over here to our database. Right, and so this is what you just set up is SQL Server Management Studio and SQL Server. Do not recover. We're connecting to our database. It's up in Azure. Any questions so far? Good. Okay, good. No problem. We'll get there. So right now we're going to create an article table. Now, here we go. So now we're just going to match what we created over there. So this is the ID, allow nulls. We're going to set primary, and we're going to set it as identity specification is yes. And we'll save that. We're going to call it articles. Good, and then we go back and look over here. I'm going to put this over the other screen just so I can see this one. I'm going to add these fields. Title and varchar 50, description and varchar 50, and text and varchar max. All right, I'm going to set those, all of them, to not null. All right, and then I'm going to save. Bring this over to this screen here so you can see. So ID, title, description, text, and I save that, and now over here I can refresh. All right, and here it is, articles. So sometimes I name it singular article. Sometimes it's plural, articles. Um, Honestly, it doesn't really matter too much. Sometimes I find plural is better just to avoid naming conflicts because you might have a class called article, singular, which is different than, articles, the table. So, in any case, either works languages, mode, page. So now we're going to just manually add one page here. Say again? Yeah, right now it's actually not that big. It's maybe a couple of gigabytes, but it's got some tables in it, but it's by no mean big. A big database to me would be like 100 gigabytes, and some of them really are like 500 gigabytes, right? This is just right now. It's a pretty small table. All right, so this is going to be Article 1, description, test, description. Our text is hello world. So we're just putting that test data in there just so that we can get some data back. All right, so now we've done about half of what we need to do. So now we come back here, this article, where now it's under, that's the namespace of it, get article. So now we're going to copy this. And so this is code which gets the connection string and creates a connection. And then it goes over and it uses that connection to do a query, right? In this case, it was a query all, which isn't really what we want. We want to just do a query async. So that would be, query all would be to return all records, which is whoops, no, we don't want to change that one, which is correct. But up here, we don't want all, we just want query async. And what we're querying is, here, say again? That's, yeah, it's it's getting data from SQL Server. And so we're going to say we want dot dot first. It's not really what we want to do here. We don't want to list query async. We want one that looks like this. So we will copy and come up here. So we're querying, and whatever table you want to query, you put right here. So we want the article. Now here's where our mismatch is, right? Like we called it article, but it's articles plural in the database, so that's going to be an issue. So let's come back over here and come over here and just call it article singular. Because that has to match exactly with the table name. Otherwise, it doesn't know what table to look it up in. Yes, we do want to change it. All right, and we'll close out of these. All right, and so back over here, and so we're gonna query the article table where a.id equals, yes, but we need to pass it in as a parameter. So we're going to say int id. So now we can say id. And and we don't care about order by because it's just getting one, and we're saying give us the first or default. But actually we want to just say first because it should always be found. Well, I don't know. It's possible. I guess it's possible that it wouldn't be found. Yeah, in which case we need to return a nullable. You see that resolve that little green squiggly. All right, so that's all it took to wired up to the database. Right? Okay, so we're gonna save that, and then we're gonna go back to our, let's close some things. We don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this. Help we need. All right, so article 1, close that. So now we're back to our article, and get article this.id. All right, so this is nullable, so we need to check to make sure it's not null. So if this dot id is not null, we're going to do this. Dot value. Okay, so we obviously, if there's no ID that got passed in, we don't want to get it. All right, and so that's going to return us our article. So now we're going to run this and see if we got our data from the database. Yeah, so now we're on our back end. We've transferred from the front end development to back end development. But Blazor honestly makes it very easy to do this because we didn't have to go through an API. We just said, hey, give us some data, and it did. So there we go. We click on it. All right, our breakpoint was hit, and then we look at the article, and what do you know? Let's see. Oh, we didn't. Okay, so we forgot something here. So let's go back to our definition here of get article, and we should call it async, because anything with async here should be async over here, and that way you know that you need to call it with async, right? So article await, and then get article async. There we go. And we run it again. So it's like running a lot because it's easy to miss little things, but when you run it, it points up your errors, and then you could just fix them right away and move on. All right, so again, we go to help and Preply subscription. And it went there. Still waiting for it to hit our breakpoint here. Oh, and finally it hit the breakpoint. It took a minute to go out and get that data, right? But if we look, looky there, hello world, article 1. So we've successfully gotten data from the database. So that's great. So now we need to use that data. So instead of just putting it in a variable, we're going to say this dot article. I don't want to get article. We just want article. Don't help me. Equals article. Right, and then we're going to create this property. We'll put it right here. Public article, article, get set. So article. What I didn't like about this? Okay, so we called this page article. Um, and so it doesn't like having the same. That's why like so let's think about this. Should we change the page name? Yeah, because we don't want to really change this business object name. So how about we just change our name here to here. First, I'm going to comment this out and check it in. All right, and then check in. All right, and now I'm right clicking and saying rename, and I'm going to call it, let's see, how about display article? All right, good. So now it's display article, but the routing we can leave the same. I like that routing. All right, and so now we can come back here, and so now article. What doesn't like about it now? Data store article. So should find this article. Oh, there it found it. Using. Okay, good. All right, now I never leave usings in Razor files. I always put them down here in my global usings and drop it in. Global. That way I don't have to keep adding using statements. All right, so that's done deal there. So now it found it. All right, and again, we got the green squigglies. So this one, we're gonna say equals null forgiving. Oops, null forgiving. Meaning we know that's gonna be not null because it's injected. But this one, we don't have that because it's not injected. So now we're gonna say equals new. And so what that's going to do is just create a new article for us, so it's always there. But now we can say, okay, now if it found it, because it may not find the article, if article is not null, then we can assign it. All right, and now we need to use it. Right, so we have ID, so then we're going to say title is article dot title, yeah, and then description article dot description, and then text, article dot text. All right, and we run it. All right, so now we go to subscription, and there it is. Test, text, hello world. Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's an example of getting data out of a database. Good, good, excellent. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to stop this recording at this point because I showed you that, and it's really good. and then we'll do another one, and I'll show you on your own database how to get started. Okay, good.